Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Montewi, coach of the Tampa Bay Lux Rays, and today I'm bringing you guys our NPL Season 7 Week 2 team builder. This week we are going up against TrevCL, coach of the Houston Toxapexans. If you've not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. Trev, at one point in the format, I think was considered one of the best draft league players in the entirety of the game. He is still absolutely up there. He's a very big threat. He has won the NPL twice. He has been in the finals, I believe, 3 times. I believe he at one point made it to the finals 3 times in a row. Very good battler, definitely check him out. Very good friend of mine as well. For his team, for his roster, we are going to be going over that right now. His roster consists of a Tapu Fini, Weavile, Mega Gallade, Nidoqueen, Silvally, Uxie, Doublade, Blissey, Xurkitree, Torkoal, and Victory Bell. So as you can see there, he's got a very solid core up top with Tapu Fini, Weavile, Mega Gallade. Tapu Fini, obviously, it goes against my playstyle pretty heavily because I will not be able to run Toxic as successfully on, all of my team. But thankfully, his team doesn't really warrant that because he does have Nidoqueen to absorb them anyway. He has no good fighting or normal resist. Like, if you look at his team, pretty much everything is 2 KO'd except for the Uxie, which is going to be very important. Uxie and Tapu Fini are the only things that are not 2 KO'd, as well as potentially like a physically defensive Nidoqueen, but if it's a physically defensive Nidoqueen, it's not as big of a threat to me. And the big thing about that is none of those things that switch in a Lopunny have recovery. Tapu Fini has no recovery, neither does Uxie, neither does Nidoqueen, so I will be able to deal with that. Even Silvally, if he's like a random Silvally Fairy or something in order to take on my Lopunny, I will be able to deal with it with that. Blissey I don't really see coming. My entire team basically is physical, and the one very good special attacker I have in Reuniclus beats it 1v1, so I really don't see Blissey coming whatsoever. Xurkitree, I do have ways to deal with, but it's still just always a threat, and then Sun Offense is actually pretty scary, especially like Victory Bell is actually surprisingly good at just being able to sweep through teams. However, I don't think he's going to be bringing that core just because I do have Tyranitar, which can kind of just shut that down. Like, I switch into it, and suddenly Victory Bell has to have Giga Drain or Energy Ball or something along those lines. He can't go for Solar Beam, and I can knock it out. So regardless, let us just get into the team of 6 that Let us just get into the team of 6 that we will be bringing. Hopefully it'll be able to deal with whatever team of 6 he decides to bring. Starting off, we have our Tyranitar. Now this is going to be an Assault Vest Tyranitar. This is going to be my best response to the Xurkitree. I can actually live a +3 Energy Ball if needed. It's supposed to be there. With the 44 Spadef and with the Assault Vest, I can live a +3 Timid Xurkitree if needed, and then knock that thing out with an Earthquake, which is really nice. This can also deal with the Tapu Fini relatively well. Obviously, Nature's Madness ignores my Assault Vest, but I can take Moonblast from that thing very, very well. I can take Earth Power from the Nidoqueen. Even if he's Life Orb Nidoqueen, I'll take 2 Earth Powers from full. If he's not Life Orb Nidoqueen, I'll be able to take it on even better. I can deal with pretty much any Silvally that he wants to bring. Like, even though he does get U-Turn, I'll still will be able to hit that relatively hard. I do hit the Doublade very hard, which is nice with Crunch for a 2 KO. Even though Tapu Fini can switch into Crunches, it doesn't want to take Stone Edges. Weavile has to be running Low Kick in order to knock me out. I can deal with the Uxie very, very well. He could be Colbur Berry, but if he's Colbur Berry, he's not Leftovers, and that means that he will be whittled down by my Lopunny, as well as all of my physical attackers, which is going to be very nice. We also have Pursuit in case you want to pursue things like a Volt switching Xurkitree or Uxie trying to switch out or go for U-Turn. We can hit Mega Gallade with a Crunch. Obviously, I don't take Close Combat, but it doesn't want to hard switch into an Adamant Crunch, which is really nice. Torkoal, if he does bring it, will go down to a Stone Edge after Stealth Rocks, and it'll take a lot from Stone Edge regardless, and he can't really do too much to me. And yeah, if he does randomly decide to bring the Blissey, I kind of deal with that as well, because Stone Edge hurts it quite a bit, and I can maybe get a defense drop with Crunch. But regardless, this is going to be our Tyranitar. Big threat versus his team. Very, again, like physical offense spam just kind of hurts his team quite a bit because he does lack recovery on his physically defensive Pokemon. Like I've mentioned, Tapu Fini, Nidoqueen, Silvally, Uxie, no recovery. Tyranitar can take advantage of that very nicely, as can the rest of my team. But regardless, let us get into the next Pokemon on our team, and that is going to be our Reuniclus. When you look at his team, or when you look at my team, Mega Gallade is a huge threat. Like, if he's a Swords Dance variant, it will OHKO everything at +2, pretty much. And even though I do have offensive checks to it, it is still a very solid Pokemon, and it's not very frail either, so I do have to get some chip damage off onto it. This Reuniclus is basically the only pseudo switch-in I have to it. Psyshock, Hidden Power Fighting, Shadow Ball, and Recover. Could have Focus Blast over Hidden Power Fighting, but after a Life Orb hit, Hidden Power Fighting will knock out Weavile most of the time anyway. I really don't feel like risking Focus Blast miss. Colbur Berry has two uses. One, I can take a knockoff from the Weavile and I can hit it back with a Hidden Power Fighting, and two, I can switch into the Mega Gallade if I'm at full health 100% of the time. I can take a +2 knockoff with the Colbur Berry, I can take a neutral knockoff with the Colbur Berry plus another knockoff on top of that and fire off an attack. Once I hit that thing with a Shadow Ball, I will be able to put it in range of Mega Lopunny's return, which is really, really nice. I'll be able to put it in range of an attack from my Haxorus, an attack from my Sandslash, which is really nice. This Reuniclus can also obviously deal with the Nidoqueen if it's Life Orb, with like Sludge Wave obviously, that I won't be able to switch into it too happily. However, there are ways around that. I can deal with the Oopsie very well, which is very good. He can't do too much to me. I can take one hit from the Xurkitree if I wanted to and just fire back a Psyshock or something along those lines if he does bring Blissey. I actually don't beat it 1v1 because I'm not Calm Mind, but there's not really much Blissey can do back to me, and again, with my team, I really doubt he's just going to be bringing that. And then with the Shadow Ball, I will be able to hit things like the Deblade super effectively, which is going to be very important, though I do have some other responses to Deblade, namely my Ferrothorn is the pivot, my Sandslash can take it on relatively well, I threaten it offensively very nicely with this team. Just having a move to hit that is going to be very nice. And again, Shadow Ball's largely there for the Gallade, hit that thing super effectively. Even if he's bulk up, I'll be able to hit it on the special side, and he will have to get to, I believe, +4 in order to knock me out with knockoff, which is really nice. Tapu Fini can shut me down for sure. That's a big reason why I'm not running Calm Mind. He has a lot of things that can just stop a Calm Mind sweep. He has potential like Hypnosis Xurkitree with Tail Glow, he has Taunt Tapu Fini, he has Weavile, which can hit me on the physical side and ignore Calm Minds, obviously, same thing with Mega Gallade. He has Doublade, which can take a Shadow Claw relatively well, but still, like, Shadow Claws plus another physical hit on his team is going to do a lot of damage to me. So I didn't really feel like being Calm Mind, plus I do kind of need the coverage because Psyshock Shadow Ball isn't really enough for his team. I do want that Hidden Power Fighting as well for the Weavile, and I do want Shadow Ball to hit that Doublade as well as to potentially hit the Doublade. Did I just say that's the same thing twice? I meant Doublade and Gallade, they sound similar, sorry. And then physically defensive, that's just, again, so I can take on the Gallade, Weavile, things like that as best as physically possible. I do deal with this special offense decently anyway. Things like the Xurkitree, I can take a hit from the Torque Hole, the Victory Bell potentially. So we are fully physically defensive. Again, best switch into that Mega Gallade. This is a very key member to the team. And with that, we are going to move on to our Haxorus. We're bringing a relatively standard Haxorus here. When you look at his team, he has one good Dragon Switch in, and that is going to be his Tapu Fini. As you can see, he does not actually have a good Steel type aside from Doublade. Doublade is pressured offensively by my team, and we do have Earthquake in order to hit that Doublade. But as you can see, Outrage and Dragon Claw do a lot to his team, bar the Fini and bar the Doublade, and we have our two coverage moves here in order to hit both of them. Earthquake will be able to hit the Doublade for 3 KO, and Poison Jab will be able to hit the Tapu Fini for a potential 3 KO, more than likely. Well, it could be a 2 KO or 3 KO depending on his investment. He could be more speedy, he could be physically defensive, it depends on his investment regardless. Poison Jab makes it so that Tapu Fini is not a guaranteed safe switch, and Earthquake makes it so that Doublade cannot switch in super safely. So very good Pokemon versus his team. This also takes an Ice Shard from Weavile until I get to around 60%, so hopefully I can keep this thing relatively healthy until then. Obviously, Mold Breaker Earthquake is really nice for his team. I can hit things like the Oopsie, which is really cool. Not that I maybe not that I necessarily need to, but regardless, having that potential is good because he does not have a flying type. I can kind of just spam Earthquake. And then with the Scarf, I naturally outspeed the Weavile, I outspeed the Mega Gallade, I can outspeed a potentially like Scarf Nidoqueen. If you decided to bring that, I can outspeed a Scarf Xurkitree, which is really nice. So there's a very good chance I can outspeed the majority of his team. He brought Scarf Tapu Fini last week. I don't know if he'd do that versus me, but if he does, I do outspeed that and can hit that thing with the Poison Jab, which is really nice. Even though it's standard, it does do very well versus his team, and hopefully I'll be able to let it put in work. If I can weaken that Tapu Fini, if I can get rid of that Doublade, then I will be able to just spam Dragon moves with this thing and put in a lot of hurt versus his team. But with that being said, we are now going to move on to the next member of our team, and that is going to be our Mega Lopunny. Return, Drain Punch, Fake Out, and Substitute. There's nothing really on his team that I would desperately need High Jump Kick for. Like the Blissey I hit hard, Return hits pretty much everything else hard. And his resists don't really take all that much from High Jump Kick anyway, so I decided to go with Drain Punch just for a little bit more reliable stab, as well as potentially getting health back from substitutes. Still a very good Pokemon versus his team. Fake Out is very useful in case he does bring the Sun. I can stall it out a turn. Fake Out obviously out-prioritizes Weavile's Ice Shard, and I can hit it with that. I can stall out Misty Terrain on Tapu Fini by faking it out. you know, allowing me to get not really a safe Mega, because I always get a safe Mega because we're in Gen 7, but Fake Out Priority is just always good versus teams. Drain Punch, like I said, reliable fighting stab in order to knock out things like the Weavile, hit things like Silvally normal very hard, hit things like the Doublade, the Blissey, and then whatever Drain Punch will not be able to knock out, I do have Return for. Return will do a lot of damage to things like the Xurkitree, the Victory Bell if he does decide to bring it. It can do decent damage to the Oopsie depending on his spread and depending on his item. The Silvally I hit with Return very hard no matter what Silvally he is, unless he's like Silvally Rock, which obviously I have Drain Punch for, so I don't know if he would do that. Return obviously hits the Nidoqueen for a 3 KO or 2 KO. I hit the Mega Gallade very hard, and I can hit the Tapu Fini pretty hard. Depending on his investment on Tapu Fini, I can also 3 KO that thing, and I do have decent switch-ins for that. So that is going to be our Mega Lopunny. Speed investment, as you can see here, this is enough to outspeed a Jolly Max Speed Weavile, which is very nice. I can also... no, I do not outspeed Scarf Xurkitree, but this is basically all the speed that I needed. I can put the rest into HP. If he's like max speed Tapu Fini with the Choice Scarf, then he'll be able to outspeed me, but I don't really expect that. I mainly just use this EV spread so that I can outspeed Weavile, knock it out with a Drain Punch, force him to go for Ice Shard, which will not do too much to me. So regardless, that is going to be our Mega Lopunny. Next up, we have our Ferrothorn. I believe this is the exact same set that I brought last time, like slightly different EV spread. This is just a standard EV spread for OU. Rocky Helmet, Power Whip, Knockoff, Spikes, and Stealth Rock. This spread allows me to take 2 hits from the Weavile. I'll take a Knockoff plus a Low Kick from the Weavile, which is very nice, assuming it is Life Orb. I'll be able to take on the Tapu Fini pretty well. If he does have Taunt and prevents me from going for hazards, I can smack that thing with a Power Whip, which is really nice. I don't take a Flamethrower from the Nidoqueen, but you know, this thing is really meant to take on the Nidoqueen. I can take a Flamethrower from the Silvally if I wanted to. I probably don't really want to. I would rather keep this thing around for things like the Weavile as well as the Xurkitree, but we'll see. I can deal with the Doublade decently well. I can knock it off and I can set up hazards versus it. Even if he gets up to +6, I do have my Mega Lopunny in order to stop Shadow Sneak. Tyranitar still takes a Shadow Sneak, and I can hit them with I can hit the Doublade with super effective stab for both of them. Hazards are very important in this game because he doesn't have the best hazard removal in the world. His only hazard remover is his Tapu Fini, which relies on Defog, and if I get this in versus that Tapu Fini, I can go right for Power Whip, because I think he would definitely want to prevent me from trying to get up hazards, but I can smack him with a Power Whip and do a lot of damage, and then proceed to maybe knock off, get rid of his leftovers, and do whatever I wanted to, because Ferrothorn actually is also a decent offensive threat versus his team, as it tends to be. Like, he doesn't have good Power Whip plus knockoff switch-ins. Like, you can go into Nidoqueen, but that's still taking chip damage. I can potentially knock off that thing's item. If he goes Torkoal, if he decides to bring Torkoal randomly, I can knock off that thing's Heat Rock. I can knock off the Victory Bell's Life Orb if I wanted to. Uxie, which could have, like, Hidden Power Fire or something along those lines, I can knock off and get rid of that thing's item. So this is just a very good mon versus his team. He could be some sort of Silvally that can deal with it, because I can knock off its Drive. But regardless, I do have some other responses to Silvally depending on what type it is, and I can still set up hazards versus it, predicting it to go for a U-turn rather than a Flamethrower, because I do have Flamethrower switch-ins, and obviously U-turn would gain him momentum. Regardless, this is going to be our Ferrothorn. Again, pretty standard EV spread. It just works the best versus his team. Makes defensive is going to be very useful in order to deal with things like the Xurkitree as well as the Weavile at the same time. However, let us now move on to the last member of our team, and that is going to be our Sandslash. We are going to be an offensive Sandslash, Earthquake, Knockoff, Poison Jab, and Swords Dance. This EV spread allows me to outspeed a max speed, timid, Choice Scarf, Tapu Fini in the sand, which is really nice. I'll be able to outspeed that thing. And he does not have good switch-ins to this at all. Like I mentioned earlier with my Haxorus, he does not have a flying type, so I can pretty much just spam Earthquake. And the one thing I can't hit with Earthquake being his Oopsie, I can hit with a super effective knockoff. And if I get up a Swords Dance, I actually OHKO everything on his team, bar some sort of Silvally that resists Earthquake, as well as some sort of potentially like some sort of Tapu Fini. I need to weaken Tapu Fini a little bit, but regardless, this is a huge threat versus his team. What's also nice is with my natural physical defense, Ice Shard only does 50 to 60% to me, which is really, really nice from Weavile. Life Orb Ice Shard only does 50 to 60% to me, which means that unless I am unless I am in that threshold, I'll be able to take an Ice Shard and just OHKO him with the Earthquake. At +2, I will be able to knock out the Mega Gallade. I can do a ton of damage to the Nidoqueen, possibly knock it out, and then at +2, I definitely knock it out unless he's Shuka Berry. Depending on his Silvally, I will be able to OHKO it at +2 with Earthquake. or Poison Jab or Knockoff or something like that. Probably not Knockoff because obviously the drives, but like if he's still Valley Fairy, for example, in order to deal with my Lopunny, I can hit that thing with a +2 Poison Jab and potentially to knock it out, which is really, really nice. The Uxie I can hit with a Knockoff and do a ton of damage too. I can also set up an SD against a few different things on this team. Like, if he is in with his Circuitry, he's probably not going to stay in. Obviously, he could have Energy Ball, but if I'm in Assault Vest Sandslash, which I have run, and he knows that I have run before in tournaments long ago, he may not want to stay in and risk his Circuitry. I can set up versus an Uxie that does not have Foul Play, and with my team, I don't know if he would. I can set up potentially versus something like Doublade, because the Doublade can't do too much to me, and obviously I'm a ground type. Sandslash is just a huge threat to his team, and with Sand Support from Tyranitar, I will be able to potentially use this as a late game sweeper and completely wreck through his team. But that is going to be the team. We are once again going up against TrevCL, like I said earlier. Check him out in the description below. And yeah, let me know what you think of the team in the comment section below, and I hope you're looking forward to the match that will be going up on Sunday as always. Regardless, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the match.